Hey everyone, it's Carissa Wiley at sprinkledwithglitter.com. Thanks for joining me today. Today I am sharing 2 cards that feature my secret weapon for making quick and easy but very beautiful card projects, and that is the Pink Fresh Studio washi tapes. Now there's a brand new release from Pink Fresh Studio out today that features 4 new washi tapes. I'm going to show all of them to you today, and today I am featuring the Peony Perfect in the pink, and it is available in blue as well. So here's a look at the rolls of washi. You actually get a ton of washi on each of these rolls, several designs, and I like to take the little label from the end and place it inside of my roll so I know what name of washi I am looking at when it's in my stash. Now, something I want to point out is that oftentimes when these washis are manufactured, you kind of have a cut in the middle of a full panel of your design. You can see that at the very end here, I have kind of a partial design, and I like to start my roll out by kind of rolling out that partial design and trimming off that piece. Now, this doesn't go to waste because I can still use the die to die cut the elements that are in this partial panel. So I'm just laying this down on some white cardstock and using some scissors to trim off between. Now, there's a definite break between the full panel designs of each of these washi tapes, and you'll be able to tell because there's kind of a white gap. Now I like to trim my cardstock to 4 1/4 by about 11 inches and roll out a panel of each of these patterns onto this white cardstock and press them down. I also love to add these washi tapes to vellums. It keeps that really translucent feel of the washi tape and allows you to get a kind of more ethereal look. So if you're looking for more bold, bright colors, I suggest placing these onto some white cardstock. If you're looking for a more traditional washi look, I suggest rolling these out onto vellum and then die cutting the elements. It's going to maintain the translucency of the washi and give you some really beautiful watercolored elements to place on your card. Now, each of the brand new washis, this is actually the Blooming Grace washi here. Again, I'm just trimming off that partial panel and placing it onto a scrap of white cardstock before I roll out the full panel. But each of these 4 new washi tapes from Pink Fresh Studio also feature a coordinating stamp set as well as a coordinating die set and stencil set. You'll also notice that all 4 of these new washi designs include some gold foiled accents, which really makes them shine. Isn't this a really beautiful and unique color combination featured in this Blooming Grace washi? I think it's so beautiful. There's some like gray florals mixed with some pinks and oranges. And of course you have those pops of foiled gold in between as well. Now, something that's really wonderful about this washi is that the adhesive is very forgiving. So if you don't get it down in the exact right place the first time, you can kind of lift it off and peel it back up and kind of have a redo on these. So it's not all lost if you place it down and it's not perfectly positioned. Now, I like a little gap on the sides and the end of my cardstock that I'm placing this onto because that allows me to kind of tape the dies down into place onto an area that's not kind of this waxy surface of the washi. So you'll notice that there is a little bit of cardstock on the outsides of these panels. That allows me the gap that I need to hold my dies in place, and you'll see that here in just a moment. Now, this is the washi that I'm actually featuring in today's card projects, and it's called Peony Perfection, and this is the pink version. So there are 2 colorways available in this washi tape, and the same die set, the same stamp set will coordinate with both of these Peony Perfection washis. It's just that the actual washi tape itself has different colorways. So this is the pink one, and there's also a blue one. Again, I'm just working on getting all of these washi rolls started out, trimming off any of the excess that's at the end, and I'm creating panels of each of these designs so that I have them ready for creating. This is the 4th and final washi tape in the series today, and this is the Peony Perfection in the blue colorway. So again, I'm just getting this started and ready to roll. The one thing that I really love about these washi tapes is number one, the coloring is already done for me, so I don't have to stress about that. I can just lay out a panel of this washi, use the coordinating die to cut out the images, and then I have several pieces ready to go on a card. I find that when I trim out one panel using the coordinating die, I have enough images for more than one card project. Now, you could use all of these images on a single card project, and it would be really over the top. But for today's card project, I just used a single panel and I was able to create two really beautiful cards. Now here's a look at all of these washis completely rolled out onto white cardstock and vellum. You could also place these onto colored cardstock, but keep in mind that that color is going to show through on the edges of the washi tape. So I have my Peony Perfection in the pink. I have two panels on white cardstock. And here is a look at the coordinating stamp, die, and stencil set that's available. So if you're more of a stamper and you like to do your own coloring, then you absolutely have that option. I'm going to grab the die set here. And one thing that PinkFresh Studio has done is they've actually divided these panels into two dies. So these are two one-piece dies that will trim out all of the images on the panel. Now, before, PinkFresh Studio used to do one really long die. And I would find that that long die never fit on my die cutting sandwich. So PinkFresh Studio has actually divided the long stamp into two pieces, two one-piece stamps, and the long die into two one-piece dies. So that's something a little bit different about the new PinkFresh Studio washis, as well as their coordinating stamp sets. You'll find two large one-piece stamps in that stamp set and two large one-piece dies in the die set. Now I am aligning the coordinating dies and I'm holding them in place along the edge of this vellum using some repositionable tape. I like the little bit of edge on that vellum because the surface of the washi tape itself is really slick and it's hard to get tape to stick to it. So really, this tape is actually sticking to the die itself and the edges of the vellum where the washi tape is not covering. So I find that little like gap of either cardstock or vellum along the sides is very helpful. Now I've run all four of these panels through my die cut machine using the coordinating die and I have a ton of images. This is only 4 panels here and you get a ton of these panels. I think someone calculated it between like 30 and 40 panels on each roll of washi. So you're gonna have cards for days with these beautiful images. You can see I have a cardstock version on this left-hand side here. So you can see how the colors are nice and bold and bright. And then on my right-hand side, I actually have the piece that's on the vellum. So it kind of maintains its translucency, that really ethereal look. You can see how the colors pop a little bit more on the white cardstock. Now I'm going to start by creating a background before I make these cards, and I have pulled out my Better Press letterpress system from Spellbinders, and I'm holding that magnetic platform in place with a little bit of repositionable tape, and I'm placing this brand new press plate from PinkFresh Studio. This is called the Leafy Lattice press plate, and you can use the press plates with your Better Press system. You can also use them with your die system to create an impression in cardstock. You can also use them with your Glimmer Hot Foil system to create foiled images. But today I have decided to use it with my Better Press system. You can see I have my Better Press cardstock adhered to that clear plate, which is called the platen, using some repositionable craft tape. And I'm inking up my press plate, which the pretty side of the press plate is actually facing up towards the camera. I'm inking that up with some Sage ink. This is an ink cube from PinkFresh Studio. And once I have that press plate inked up, I am going to place the platen onto the magnetic feet of the chase, and I'm going to run this through my Spellbinders Platinum 6 die cutting machine. That's going to make an impression, an inked impression, or a faux letterpress look onto my cardstock. Now I am using the Leafy Lattice coordinating die to die cut these images. This is a really cool press plate because you can either use it as it is as a background, or you can use the coordinating die to die cut these individual kind of diamond shapes and the little kind of medallions that are in the center. Now, because the Better Press cardstock is a little bit thicker, it's a little bit more cottony, I did not get a great cut on my first time through. So this time I'm going to line up the die with the impressions that the die had already made on the cardstock. And this time, instead of cutting into my magnetic shim of my Anna Griffin Impress machine, I'm going to die cut into the plastic clear plate. And I find that if I'm running into problems die cutting certain types of materials or getting a clean cut, I can switch over to cutting into the clear plastic plate and I get great die cuts. I am using the metal shim on my die cutting sandwich for this as well. So there is this look at this kind of really beautiful diamond pattern that I'm going to use on card project number 1. And I'm going to combine this with the large floral cluster from this washi set. Now I have the flowers for the Soul stamp set, and I am grabbing this Grateful for You greeting from that stamp set, and I'm going to stamp it onto some white cardstock. So I have my mini Misty out here on my desk, and I have a scrap piece of white cardstock, and I have that same sage ink that I used to ink up my press plate, and I'm inking up my stamp and using my Misty stamping tool to stamp this. Now I did not get the greatest impression on my first stamping, and that's because this is a brand new stamp. And when stamps come from the manufacturer, they kind of have a coating on it. So if you haven't prepped your stamp ahead of time by kind of rubbing your fingers across it, you may find that stamping it a couple of times the first time will help to get it seasoned and help you get a great stamped image. So I stamped that a couple of times, and now I'm using the coordinating die to die cut that greeting, and look how beautiful this is going to be on my card front. Now I'm also grabbing the new double stitched rectangles. This is from the Pink Fresh Studio Essentials line, and these are basically dies that are must-haves in your stash. This creates a beautiful A2 sized or A2 scaled stack of rectangles with a beautiful double stitched pattern around the outside. And I am going to go ahead and use some foam strips. These are from scrapbook.com. They're really narrow foam strips, and I'm placing them on the back of this leafy lattice pattern that I've die cut. These are the perfect width for these thin little items. I don't have to trim down my larger foam adhesive. They just seem to work. And once I have my foam adhesive on the back of this, I will adhere this to that double stitched rectangle that I die cut from some white cardstock. Now I was kind of fumbling around with the diamond pattern here, this leafy lattice and that rectangle. So I brought in a magnet that sticks to my work surface to hold my rectangle in place so that I could use the grid lines of my work surface to get this perfectly centered on my rectangle. And once I like where it's at, I'm going to go ahead and press it down, and then I'll flip this over and trim off any of the excess that is hanging off the edge of my rectangle. Now, before I place my floral cluster image onto my card front, I am going to take my fingernails and just kind of roll up the edges to kind of bring some dimension to it. And then I'll place this kind of on the left edge of that leafy lattice pattern. And I will take and add my sentiment here in this lower right-hand quadrant of my card front. And I'm using my reverse grip tweezers from Pink Fresh Studio to kind of keep my hands out of the way. Now I took a couple of the other really small and delicate images from this washi tape that I die cut with the coordinating die, and I'm placing them directly onto the card front using a little bit of liquid glue. For my card base, I am using some fog cardstock that's cut to 5.5 by 8.5 inches, and I scored that at 4.25 inches and folded it in half to create my A2 size card base. And then I placed this card front onto the card base using some foam adhesive. And you can really see why this washi tape is my secret weapon for making fast and easy yet beautiful cards. Now, since I had so many images left over, I decided to go ahead and create a second card. So I created another card base using some fog cardstock, and I have this open on my die cutting sandwich, and I'm using the brand new Elegant Circles die set from Pink Fresh Studio to die cut a window on my card. Now I used that same die to create 3 die cuts out of some white cardstock, and I'm stacking those up. I actually created 4 die cuts here. I'm stacking up 3 to kind of test it out, and I decided I wanted the 4th one, so I went ahead and used some glue to kind of adhere all of those layers together. And I also have a panel of this fog cardstock that's cut slightly smaller than my card base. And I am going to hold that behind my open card base and nestle my die into the opening that's on my card base. I'm holding this die in place using some removable tape, and I'm making sure that the tape overlaps in the center of the die so that it doesn't rip my card base. And I'm going to run both of these layers of cardstock through my die cutting machine so that now I have a window on my panel of cardstock that will go on the inside of my card as well. I'm creating a vellum window. So once I have that window in both of my pieces, I can adhere my panel of vellum using some tape runner adhesive on the inside of my card. Then I'm going to add some tape runner adhesive to the second panel that I created and sandwich that vellum between my card front and the inside of my card. So now that's all concealed. There's no visible adhesive on the inside of the card. Now, once I reinforce this fold again, I am going to take that stack of white die cuts that I created with this elegant circle die, and I'm going to add some liquid glue and nestle it right into the window opening on my card front so it's adhered to that vellum layer. Now, to conceal the adhesive on the inside of my card, I opened up my card and I added some liquid glue to the vellum window just around the edge where that die cut kind of overlaps. And I took one of the gray die cuts that was created when I created these window panels, and I nestled that right into that opening so everything's concealed on the inside of the card. Now I have my Peony Perfection washi tape pieces here, and I'm adhering them to kind of that left edge of my window. And I have a greeting from a stamp set that's brand new from Pink Fresh Studio this month. I have lined it up in the center of my card front there, and I'm using my mini Misty stamping tool to stamp that down in some Rocky Slope ink. Now, to make this panel, or this window, I guess, a little more visible, I did add a panel of white cardstock to the inside of my card. That's going to allow that white to show through and really kind of show off that vellum window. So there you have it, my secret weapon for creating fast, easy, yet beautiful cards. It's the Pink Fresh Studio washi tape. It is so beautiful. It is so easy to create cards with these images because you just roll out your images, die cut them, and attach them to some simple card projects, and people will think that you have created a masterpiece. So here's a look at those 2 cards that I created today featuring the brand new Joyful Blooms release from Pink Fresh Studio. It's available now over on the Pink Fresh Studio website. As always, I will have links to the featured products used in these projects in the YouTube description below. So if you're looking for something in particular, be sure you check there. Or you can head on over to my blog at sprinkledwithglitter.com. I'll have that linked below as well. Over there, you'll find more still shots, more information, a complete list of supplies, as well as some information on a blog hop that's happening today celebrating this brand new release from Pink Fresh Studio. I hope you'll join me over there for a chance to win prizes and lots of inspiration. As always, I want to say thanks so much for stopping by and hanging out with me today. I am so glad you're here. I hope you enjoyed these projects, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications here so you don't miss any of my paper crafting and card making video tutorials, as well as my Carissa Crafts live stream broadcasts here on YouTube. Thanks for being here today. I'm so thankful for you. And until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.